You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Zingit Solutions, Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, ChiroThin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Chiropractic Jobs Online, Rhino Coaching, Chiro Matchmakers, True Chiro, and the Social Health Experts Summit. Let's hustle. Hey guys, Jim Chester coming here. This is an evening edition of the Chiro Hustle live stream. Tonight I have Ethan Dangberg over there that way. He is coming in from Richmond, Virginia. He's out there on a special operation, and I'm coming in from Grand Junction, which is in the Grand Valley on the western slope of Colorado, which I like to say it's where no one lives, and I moved here to hear the birds chirp, although it is wintertime, so it's snowing out, so I don't hear too many birds chirping right now. But this episode is brought to us by Imaging Services, and that is theimagingservices.com. I'm going to flash their website on the bottom of the screen here, and you guys can go over and see Michael Tokash, and he'll set you guys up with your x-ray room, and anything you guys need, just reach out to Mike. So welcome to the show, Ethan.
Boom, here we go, man. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Jim. It's good to be here again.
Yeah.
Part two.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. I know you always bring a lot of energy. We had a chance to meet each other for the first time last year at 10X out in Vegas, and I know we're both going to be there this year again. Just talk us a little bit of what was your experience like last year at 10X?
Man, it was transformational. I think every major growth conference of that size, you have one, two, or three things that just blow your mind, and commitments that you make, decisions you're going to move forward with, and actions you're going to be looking to implement, and strategies you want to have in place. And for me, what that event was really about was not only mindset shifts, but also the network. I mean, so we met, obviously we had been chatting on social media. We had been, we knew each other through familiar connections, and then we had a chance to actually sit down and vibe with each other on not only on TIC, but also on business, on marketing, on digital, on so many different concepts. And then when you have a chance to be face to face with somebody that's part of your tribe and aligns with who you are, I don't know, it's pretty cool. So for me, it was really about being a part of other people. And I think I needed to get around other business individuals that were like-minded to me, to our associates and colleagues and our network, and decide what we're going to do to move forward, and just to future think, right, with each other, and then how we're going to impact the chiropractic community at a high level, and to take them from where they're at to where it's going to go. And I think it was transformational, and here we are almost a year later, and it feels like it just went by like that. And we could just sit here probably for probably 2 hours and just laundry list the things we got done, in the meantime between now and then. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do this year.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and getting support from you and just having you as a resource and somebody to kick ideas around with has been really cool. Just building that relationship. And, I always tell people this, be social on social. And when you do that, miracles happen for you. And, I always tell people, Russell Brunson's training also is to create your Dream 100. Create 100 people out there that you want to be connected with, and figure out how to start networking with those Dream 100, and build them into people that run podcasts, maybe people that are really good at maybe Instagram, maybe people that just do different genres that you're interested in. Maybe you're into Facebook ads. Maybe you find 25 of the most influential Facebook ads people out there and become friends with them, and then you become cool because by proxy, and now you build your tribe around you. And I think that's the cool thing about this Chiro space is, I meet guys like you, we share big ideas, we go to non-Chiro events, learn how to become better hustlers, better entrepreneurs, and then we bring that information back to our camp. And I tell everybody this, not to just make it sound like 10X is the greatest thing out there, but it's very well done. And I think that anybody that goes there builds more influence with themselves, being around that energy of like-minded people. And I think it's just so cool. I mean, there's 9,000 people just like us there, people that are, really pushing the envelope for serving, really pushing the envelope for information, connectivity. Like you said, we talked about digital ad space. We talked about, teaching teams. If we talked about bottom lines, I know those are some of the topics we're going to talk about tonight, but Just amazing, just the framework that kind of like gave us the launch pad to be where we are today.
Yeah, so important. And I think when you're, again, a lot of these ideas bounce in our head. I know a lot of our viewers today are familiar with these concepts. And so ideas, concepts, anecdotes bounce in your head constantly. But when you have another individual to finally bounce it back with, like playing Pong, right? You can vibe. And it's like Napoleon Hill says, the mastermind. You have one mind has one capability, but the second mind with the first mind creates an invisible, intangible force of a third mind. That's the mastermind. That's what it really builds into. And especially when you're in the space and the environment and the vibe, and you start going, consciousness opens up, and you can just find all kinds of innovations and solutions, man. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and I know something you really take pride in is your team building and how you work with individuals and get them to have breakthroughs so we can affect the bottom line, which is our next topic. But let's talk a little bit about how you actually work in with a team and start working on team strategies and resolutions.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'm right now in Richmond, Virginia. I'm from Orange County, California. Actually, here in my hotel room this evening, getting a little last extra tick work in with you, Jim Chester. But I'm working with a team out here on site, out here in Richmond, and this chiropractic team is unique, right? I mean, it has its own strengths and weaknesses. It's trying to take itself from where it's been the last 20 years, which has been mainly a technician-driven practice, a personality-driven practice. The doctor and the owner of the practice is, he's the provider of chiropractic. He is the manager of all the staff. He's the manager of operations. He's the operator, as you would. He's also the CEO. He's the accountant, and he's the business owner, the marketer at times, and he fills in wherever he has to if he has some staff turnover. So very charismatic, and what he's done so far in practice, it's phenomenal. It's very impressive to see what he's done. So, but my goal is he has a really solid team in place right now. So what I want to do is take his team to that level of ownership that he puts into his business, that honestly, he's the only guy that's going to have that level of ownership because he owns the business. He owns the clinic. These are his patients. But how can you transfer that level of ownership to your team, to where your team is working at a max capacity plus, not to burn them out, but because they are a part of something bigger than themselves? So obviously we understand the importance of why and purpose and vision and drive towards something bigger, especially with the chiropractic philosophy and the vision that BJ laid out. But how can you give somebody not only a job in a chiropractic office, but give them a career that they can actually go to work in every day and be fulfilled with what they do? So an exercise I do is I always have teams draw a circle, just a simple circle on their notes, and then divide out their life, their waking hours in an average 7-day week into 3 categories. I mean, the 3 categories we all know. It's work time in the office, it's time with your family, and it's time away from both those things for yourself, for recreation or creativity, to fill your own tank up, right? And I always have them divide out those into the average amount of time every week that you spend in each of those categories and make a pie chart, right? And everyone has a different pie chart. If it's a team of 10, like this is a team of 9 that I'm working with right now, and they all draw like a different pie chart. And I ask them, okay, who has time, or I should say the biggest slice of pie dedicated to personal time where they can be creative and do their recreation? No one raises their hand. Okay, good. How about family? Maybe one part-time staff member raises their hand. Oh, good for you. I acknowledge you. How about who has the biggest slice of their pie being work? And of course, everyone raises their hand. And I go, okay, good. So we all can recognize that the majority of your life is spent here in the office. Is that correct? Yes. Good. So it's up to you if you want to live a happy, fulfilled life to where you're actually enjoying what you do in life. Well, let's just look at the stats. The majority of the time that you're spending is going to be in here. So it's your responsibility to make this place happy, to make yourself fulfilled, and to be a part of something bigger with what you're doing. Otherwise, your work will translate into what your life will become. And so if we take that level of responsibility at the beginning, kind of like, Grant Cardone says, going back to 10X, it's like it's your duty, your responsibility to have success in life. And my goal is to start them by imparting that level of responsibility for themselves individually, extending that out to the team and going, okay, good, now how can we work through the issues that are getting in the way of us accomplishing big things and being the person we know we can be with the vehicle we have in front of us? And it's really a joy. So when you can kind of start off with, perspective shifting and looking at what, the vehicle that they're in, which is chiropractic, and the practice they're working for, it's not just a place to clock in and clock out. it's not just a place where they're answering the phones, or they're doing a screening, or they're helping a patient on therapy, or they're helping the chiropractic be an assistant. I mean, they're doing something far bigger, and the impact they give ripple effects into the community, and it gets the big idea that chiropractic provides into the minds of people. And then I ask them to see how that benefits themselves. And as long as people can be a part of something bigger and see how it can serve them and their family as well, then we have that marriage. It's really a match made in heaven. It's really exciting to see what you can do. So you start with that, and if you have that in your team, you can start to put in organizational systems. You can start putting in team building and systems that allow the whole team to work together, and then it takes the pressure off the technician, and it puts the productive pressure on the team to accomplish big goals themselves. And so a lot of the teams that we work with, we're taking the doctor from technician mode, doing it, as Michael Gerber says from the E-Myth, just doing it, and separating them out with a set of systems and a core team that can allow them to grow with or without them. And that's really my joy in putting in systems in that regards is really quite exciting. I'm excited to be here in Virginia to do that this week.
Hey, man, that's really cool. Just following that whole process of what you do is you basically follow a couple of the things that I like to discuss with my marketing strategies for people. I don't know, I didn't even share this with you, but we're releasing my genius. It's called New Patients in a Box here shortly, and it's going to teach people how to go out there and hustle in their communities and drive in new patients. But by doing that, we're going to give something that's actionable to these teams that you're helping train to where they can go out and be a greater contribution to the success of that office. And two of these things that we're going to be helping with primarily, that you help with as well indirectly, is you help people solve two of their biggest pain points in chiropractic. That is managing their massive student loan debt, which is probably like pain point number one. And then the second pain point that the product will help with, as well as what you do, these are great additions, is what we also do is we help them buy their independence and their freedom and be able to buy their building and buy out of an associateship and start on the right track, whether it's a successful practice that's doing well, that wants to do better, like you said, build these servant leaders inside the profession to bring the leader up. And if you do these things and you have good contribution with good services and good systems, now the big win is, a successful office. And I know that's why you do a lot about what you do is you give people solutions to growing their bottom line. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about money and how you design an impact for people to take them from this disillusionment. Oh, I have an office and a business, but you know what? You're not making much money, and it probably isn't much fun to you. So, how do we integrate that and have people have more fun and earn more money?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I always say one of the biggest, one of the more, I should say, substantial expenses you have in your bottom line as a practice, right? We're talking about getting the most bang for your buck with the investment of your service and your value you're providing your patients, right? So there are practices that make 50, 60, 100K a month plus, and there's been some that I've worked with that they're doing $110,000 a month, $120,000 a month, $150,000 a month, but they're spending $148,000 to get there. They're spending $155,000 to get there. They're still month to month, and I look at the balance sheet and I go, "What are you doing? You're bragging and you're excited. You're doing $150,000 a month. Well done, sir. You made it in practice after 22 years." But you're spending $152,000 to get there, and you're still month to month. You're still moving money around. It's like, we need to fix that problem, right? And so one thing I always look at, and I can't speak for every chiropractor, but one big substantial expense that any practice has or any business has to grow is going to be payroll, right? Having individuals that you can delegate obviously responsibilities from yourself to grow your practice and to take your weaknesses and somebody else's strengths and to move the practice forward in various compartments of your business, to take it from where it's at that one person can do it to what 5 people can do, what 50 people can do, et cetera. So payroll is going to be an expense, right? And just like if you're a successful entrepreneur, you have to look at, if I have an expense, I can't look at it like an expense. I have to look at it like an investment, right? So how can I get the best investment from this money I'm spending in payroll? And so I'll tell you this. One of the biggest inefficiencies that costs money is human emotion and reaction in a team. That's negative. So you have negative human emotion and reaction in a team. You're investing payroll into bringing more performance and practice and more service into your patients, and to be able to see more patients and to impact your community at a higher level. But there are poor management skills in place or no management skills to actually solve the issue of human emotion and reaction that occurs in the team. And then you spend hours of time on payroll trying to fix problems that are preventable by providing a system to prevent those situations. So I'll give you an example. There could be a practice, right? And there could be a marketing issue. So you might have a marketer, right, on payroll, like yourself, Jim. You're somebody that goes out and spreads the word of chiropractic to drive in new patients into a practice. So let's say that person's on payroll. And let's say that person is promising things to bring people in that is causing inefficiency for the front desk because they're saying things that maybe they're over-promising an idea that the office can't provide. Okay, well, obviously that is a total breakage in values and policy and procedure of how things should be done. But let's say there was no procedure about how it should be done. There was no system for how a marketer should market. And so new patients are being driven in. The front desk is having to deal with people that are confused, uncertain, not understanding what they're saying versus what the marketer is saying. And then now we have a confusion. We have a miscommunication. We have problems that take 2 minutes, 5 minutes, sometimes an hour to resolve. So maybe the front desk is a very resourceful person and they resolve it. But as time wears on, that's an aware in your front desk. And then all of a sudden your front desk harbors some resentment towards the marketer because she causes a lot more work for your front desk, and then she gets pissed off. But you know what? She's a really good employee, so she's going to hold it in and push it down. And then over time, all of a sudden, next thing you know, it goes postal. She explodes. And now you have a 3-hour fire in the middle of treatment that you have to resolve. Then you put your hands up in the air and say, why do I even have staff in the first place? This is a bunch of BS, and people can't get their crap together, and just do your job, would you? Right? And at the end of the day, how do we solve that? Well, it's pretty simple. You can be proactive by putting in a system in place that allows your marketer to have boundaries and scripting and exact values and perspectives of what they're promising. You have a good branded product you're promoting. You have a system around that. Your front desk is in communication, right, with your marketers. So there's consistent huddles, and they're working together as a team to actually understand how they can help each other. And then you start working that system in place, and then all of a sudden the new patients that are coming in, the front desk anticipates them coming in. They serve those new patients that they walk in the door in a 5-class Ritz-Carlton experience with minimal extra work, with minimal miscommunication, and then they flow into see the doctor and into the practice to be served at a high level. So just by implementing a small system, implementing communication with your team, implementing the team dynamics of human interaction and communication, and putting in some boundaries and structure, you can solve multiple migraines and headaches as a business owner and allow yourself to, get the most out of the staff you're paying. So you can have the payroll that you have, and it gets the most performance that you can get through higher efficiency and less subluxations for yourself as a business. And you can actually enjoy what you do versus having to feel like you're managing a bunch of children running around that have no system to work with. And so my mission, my value, what I love doing is implementing exact systems with willing team members to create a result of the mission you have for your patients. And when that whole cycle flows, it really is a beautiful thing. And you mix in some level of leadership, ownership, and executive management tools for your staff. It's like they've been receiving something they've always wanted, but now they can have it. And I always find that there are 3 basic needs of every team member. I've interviewed thousands of chiropractic employees over the years, and it's 3 things, right? It's certainty, prediction, structure. Those are the words that people want, right? Your employees need that. They crave that. So when you provide that or have resources to provide it or have somebody else help you provide those resources for your team, it lights them up, right? It lights them up and it just gets them going. And they have what they need, and then it's to the stars. And it's really fun to see the results that can have happen. I mean, there's one office I was working with out in Georgia, and it's cool to see when a doctor can take a 2-week vacation right out of the country, and then the numbers that they hit were higher than they've ever seen before with them being in the practice. And when they come back, they say, hey, doc, you should just get out of here more often because we're doing it better without you here, right? And they always give the doctor a hard time because they know they can hold down the fort. And there's, whether it's a couple of associates in there that have been grooved into the model, and they have a team with leadership, It's fun to see those stories happen, and those happen on a regular basis with us. And we can help doctors go from technician to CEO while also growing the revenue of their business and, improving their bottom line.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Zingit Solutions, Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, ChiroThin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Chiropractic Jobs Online, Rhino Coaching, Chiro Matchmakers, True Chiro, and the Social Health Experts Summit. Let's hustle.
The things that you say really make me want to interject with you as well, because I know that there's things that you've helped figure out with strategy that helps give doctors freedom. And I know a lot of those things are attached to stats. When you follow stats and when you follow systems, what happens to the freedom for that CEO now?
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, you can either manage your team or manage your operation by objective measures or subjective measures. But you know what? As a provider and a practitioner, if you're going to treat a patient, you have to have both. The same applies to your business. Of course, you have to have a feel for how people are doing in your business, how your patients are doing with your business, with how things are going overall, that gut feeling you have as an executive of your business. But most importantly, you have to have objective measures. And at the end of the day, the stats don't lie, right? I mean, the numbers and the results are what they are. And as Brian Moran says in the 12-week year, you can look at the results and you can justify the results that you have, but we all know that's a lie because the stats don't lie themselves. And so, stats are our objective measures. So whether it's going to be the key performance indicators of your practice, the general key stats that allow you to see the beginning, the intra, and the end product of your business, or it's the minor, smaller statistics or metrics of your team members that allow them to drive forward towards goals and expansion. Either way, whatever we look at, I think metrics are key to understand where you're at and where you're going. And if you don't know where you've been, then how do you know the direction of where you're going? So our company, the Chiropractic Business Academy, we love utilizing the charts, right? So you can have an Excel spreadsheet with numbers, but if you can chart it visually by month or by week and see the trajectory of where your business has been at a glance, then it really shows you the strategies, the systems, the actions, the way you're operating your business is resulting in a snapshot in the direction you want it to go, or it's resulting in stagnation or contraction of your business. So by seeing that, you can reverse engineer almost anything when you have stats in place. So I'll tell you what happens when you don't have stats. When you don't have stats, you have feelings. And when feelings are in place, I'll tell you one of the most, we all know that our memory is subpar at best. Our feelings tend to be irrational, especially when they're negative. And if we're utilizing that, we tend to be in reactivity mode versus in proactivity mode. When you have a tangible measure and you're tracking key performance indicators like new patients and patient visits and show percentage and starts and closes and PVA and your patient acquisition costs and things like that, you can just look at your business and go, good, I'm currently utilizing these 5 strategies to try to grow my business. And wow, even if I have a consultant or not, these are or aren't working. There's no doubt. Even if, what if listen, I hate doing screenings. Oh, but wow, it still gives me 8 new patients a week. And it still drives in a low patient acquisition cost. I'm going to do that on top of the other strategy I have because even though I hate doing it, it still works. And maybe this patient education protocol with my patients, I'm treating them, or these re-exam protocols are just driving me insane. But you know what? Wow, it creates bigger patient retention based on my patient visit average over the course of time. So all these things can tell you where you're going. And then most importantly, when you're giving a team member ownership, one of the things I love working with team members on is giving them a performance metric like they're a player of a team. See, a player of a team, of course, a team has its team metrics, but if you look at the box score, the players all have metrics that they're working towards individually and as a team to create a certain outcome. So when you can have team members actually taking the next step and working like a business owner, tracking their own metrics to accomplish certain goals, to strive towards something bigger, to gamify their work right? It really is a ton of fun. And I think that at the end of the day, it's not all about the numbers. The numbers just show us a result. They're a tool we use, but it is a fantastic tool that even if you're only using it just using a little bit of it, you can have a big, good impact. But using it at its full potential can have quite a big impact on your business and on the happiness and fulfillment of your staff.
I think, driving it home to people, telling them that helping with pain points, I think is a huge takeaway from tonight's talk. Yep. I think talking to people about how they can organize their, their clinic life, knowing that that's where they spend their time working, and how they can configure, if I'm going to spend most of my time here, I might as well figure out how to make this the most productive and optimize this time the best I can for everybody involved, to where we all have a happy home life at work. Yeah. I think that's really cool, because you could take those same principles and apply it to your home life, as well as to your pleasure life. So you could start building that type of a wheel system and get ideas going from A through Z for any type of life choice that you make at this point, but especially where it comes to where you make your bread, and that's at work, and that's where you're the people that you spend the majority of your time with, because, those are the people that have also committed to going to a certain place to earn from. And they're like, yeah, I'll raise my hand. I love chiropractic. I want to be on a team. Yeah. But a lot of times these people think that they're their own leaders and that they make their own decisions. And they don't realize that the small things that they slough off on have an accountability downstream for the entire team. Or when people take liberties to do things that aren't, in tune with the whole team, it has a downstream effect that affects the whole outcome. And what do they say? If a ship leaves the port and it goes by 1 degree a certain direction, it's not even going to go to where it's supposed to go. So if we think about one person on our team going in the wrong direction, our ship is definitely not going to get to port safe. And I think when you think about, business and that stuff and metrics on that stuff, you have to think it down to the 1 degree. And the people that do think like that and get down to that business, or have a consultant that helps them get to that level of certainty, I think that that's a superpower. And I think when you can go in there as an offensive coordinator and you find out where their playbook is mismanaged or mishandled, and you're like, all right, well, if you start running this play like every day, no one can stop you. It's like old school Tecmo Bowl. You hand it to Bo Jackson, you get a touchdown.
It's so true. It's so true. I mean, it's funny. There's a mentor of mine taught me there's like 3 ways to grow a practice, right? You increase your volume, you increase your fee, or you provide another service that aligns with what you're doing to bring more value. Those are 3 ways you build a practice. And sometimes you have to look at the metrics to determine which one of those 3 are going to be applicable. I mean, I've talked to many a chiropractor that they're interested in getting the new fill in the blank, the new shiny object or the new service, the new shiny object for their office. And I go, wait a minute, let me see your average visit per adjustment here. And I get their numbers and I go, you're collecting $27 a visit. Why are you adding 3 more things into your practice? You're way more valuable than that. Like, your time and your staff's time is way more valuable to a patient. Raise your fees, sell that value, share it with people, and people will be happy to pay that. And that will provide you more capital to not go and pull a 20 grand loan to go buy that new shiny object, but instead build some capital, build some security, build some future investment. And then if you want to see if that is a right decision for your practice, then go ahead and do it. But I mean, come on, man, let's take a look at the numbers and see how do you value yourself. And that scenario is different for every practice, right? But I think it's important to see when you look at the numbers, you have to know, what you're making per visit, how long a patient is lasting, what does it cost to acquire a customer, how much are you spending every month? We were talking about, just some offices, they might make $120,000 a month, but they're spending $121,000 a month to get there. Well, that's no better than like not being in business. I mean, I don't understand the benefit of that. So make sure there's some key metrics you should be aware of, the ones I just mentioned. And of course, you should be hyper aware of what are you spending, what are you making, right? You should be tracking that, whether you're a numbers person or not. Have your office manager track it. Have one of your team members track it. If you can't, you just need to know what your margins are as a business. And so one of our goals is to take, again, a technician who's incredible at turning the power on with a patient and moving them into a CEO. And a CEO has to be accountable to the board for profits and expansion as a business to the marketplace. And the beautiful thing about being a profitable company and a profitable clinic is it allows you to provide so much more to your community. Like having free capital allows you to do an incredible amount to serve your community. And I just love seeing guys that have free range capital. They can invest in incredible ways into their own business to have orders of magnitude more of an effect and impact in their community than the guy who's pinching pennies who's month to month in practice, right? Who's afraid to raise his costs because he doesn't want to put people in a bind, but he's making $25 in adjustment, when it just needs to change, right? He needs to value himself more with the patient based on the miracle he's providing people. So those are a couple of key metrics I would look at when it comes to, you mentioned, Jim, the bottom line. If you're not tracking those things weekly or monthly, you got to start tracking those and know where you're at and then make the appropriate decisions or get coached on those decisions to have a bigger impact for your business and your community and free up some capital to have more investment to serve your community at a higher level.
Yeah, and what that does is equals freedom. It equals better quality of life, like you said. And one of the things that I just wanted to kind of wrap up on is when people do organize themselves better as a business, and they know that relationship starts with them, and it starts with you when it comes to who you are able to attract as a practice member. And, sometimes if you think about it, the chiropractor's great asset is their hands. So always look to the hands first on how to create value for yourself, because that's really the course of action that you've taken on for yourself, is to be a practitioner and to take care of people with your hands and to use the healing art of chiropractic to take care of your community. So I think a lot of times we try to busy ourselves up with systems and strategies and whatnot, but the core thing that we'll always go back to is the chiropractor takes care of people with their hands. So once we learn how to optimize that system, then I think that people can figure out how to optimize the chiropractic office. People can optimize everything. But if the chiropractor is not skilled in taking care of people the way that they're supposed to, then it's never going to be a winning game. So we always need to make sure that the adjustment comes first and people know that they should build their business from that nucleus outside to make sure that, that is number one in everything that anybody does with the chiropractor or a chiropractic office. So always going back to that, like, what is the bedrock? What is the tie that binds chiropractic together? And that's understanding that the chiropractor has to value the adjustment. And like you're saying, it can't be at a certain price point. Otherwise, it's not going to be a profitable venture. And then the chiropractors in that 50% sliding, that slippery slope of 50% that fail after 5 years. So if we want to protect that and that not be a promising stat for the next 5 years, then we have to discover what it is to get these people to know this is my most profitable thing I can deliver, and then I can build my business around this.
Absolutely. It's so true. And you have to start with why. I mean, we all know that by now, and I think we've all heard that message over and over again. I can probably deserve hearing it more, but let us make a point here that the integrity of what we're doing is based on the adjustment. And there are a lot of things to do out there, right? But have as your bedrock, as your foundation, as your brand, as your defining output to the community, it's your hands, right? And it's what you do. It's the impact you give through them and through the adjustment. And being a chiropractic kid, man, it's like no one can ever overvalue the chiropractic adjustment to me. Because it always is, to me, it's always, no matter how enthusiastic somebody is about it, whenever I hear it, it's always understated to me because I know the impact it had on me. And that's why I get so passionate about like just the simple cost that a chiropractor is making per an adjustment. It's like the amount that a chiropractor makes at the high end for an adjustment is like a fraction of the value back that they could be making based on what current healthcare is charging for like a negative value. And I'm just going, guys, why are we even having a question about this value price system? Like with the miracles we create and the impact we have, like the impact that was had on me is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars that someone could pay and have to go into having multiple surgeries and not have anywhere near the same outcome. To me, I would pay that money, or I would do it. My parents would, I'm sure, pay that money when I was a young kid at that time to have the impact that I've had now if they had to go an alternative route to try to get that impact with me. And I'm just, I'm so certain and convicted on the value of chiropractic that I want to make sure every chiropractor understands that and then strives to succeed with the impact they're serving and their why, and also financially with their business, because they deserve it based on the value they give.
Well, I have one more question for you, and it's not on coaching, it's not on team building, it's not on anything like scripted about chiropractic. The last question I had for you, and it's kind of a fun one. I know you've been doing a lot of interviews with people recently. What do you enjoy most about being in this position that I'm in, where you're actually interviewing people?
I just love absorbing, man. I love absorbing. So, like, whether it's, Lewis Howes, right, sitting down and doing a podcast interviewing success, or it's any of these guys doing podcasts, I find it so interesting to sit back. I mean, right now I'm talking a lot. You're interviewing me, I suppose, but doing interviews is fun because I like taking someone's perspective and just, maybe it's the empathy in me, just kind of like diving into their world and understanding their consciousness and their nuts and bolts and their perspective. And I just love absorbing, man. I love taking it all in. So from being on the other end of the mic, it's unique to hear all the different ways that the human experience can express itself. And if you just sit back, tune in, and listen, man, it's quite a joy.
Yeah, I think there's something really special about the interview platform, and to hold space for somebody and to make it fun and to ask engaging questions and to actually be audience driven. Like if people are watching right now, if you guys are on right now, please hashtag value if you got value of this talk. The Titans of TikTok.
Yeah.
If you guys got some value out of this, or if you're watching this on replay, hashtag replay into the comments there so we know that you watched with us. I know that Ethan, you gave so much value and knowledge to the people that watched tonight. I just want to say thank you for being on as a guest for the Chiro Hustle live stream evening edition. And I just want to say thank you to Mike Tokash with Imaging Services at theimagingservices.com. If you guys want an x-ray room, get things dialed in for the digital era, get out of the dark room into the digital room, reach out to Mike and his team over at imagingservices.com. And Ethan, man, I know you're cranking over there with Chiro Business Academy. I know you guys are unsubluxating systems across the board for this chiropractic profession. So I just want to say thank you for charging forward and delivering more value, always delivering more value, man. So thank you to doing that for the people that you help, and thank you for doing that to our audience tonight.
Heck yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you for Chiro Hustle, man. I'm telling you. Thank you.
Well, we absolutely love what we do, and we feel blessed to be able to be the megaphone for the beautiful profession of chiropractic. And we start from the bottom. Now we're here, and it's the truth, and it's a lot of fun. And thank you everybody out there that trusts us to captivate this chiropractic content for you and to deliver it to you as the pros that we are. So thank you so much, everybody. Just what I used to close everything out like this. I used to say, like Russell Simmons, good night and God bless everybody.
10X and Godspeed.
All right, man. I'll see you on the next one.
See you, brother.
All right.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.